Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today I've got a special little treat for you. It's a tinker tip, and I know some of you guys think I'm crazy with these tips. Other of you really like these, and today's is a good one. I'm telling you, you guys are going to want to try this because it's pretty cool, and one that I've caught some really big fish on. So we're going to get into that, but first I want to remind you that if you have not subscribed yet to the channel, hit that subscription button. Guys, it gets you entered into my monthly prize drawings for sponsor products. The only way you can win is if you subscribe to the channel, so hit that subscriber button. Also, if you're looking for fishing gear, hunting gear, or outdoor activity gear, go into my description, click the link for therealshot.com. It's a local store here in Wisconsin, and they're giving you 10% off if you use the discount code STEFAN10 at checkout. It helps the channel out. You get a deal on some already really well priced products, and you help a local shop out as well. So guys, head over to therealshot.com. Today, the tackle tinkering tip for you. Well, I got to tell you, a few years ago I was in the boat and I was fishing really muddy water, and I was getting a few bites on a spinnerbait, I was getting a few bites on a crankbait, on a shallow running crankbait, and it was one of those things where every time I picked one up I felt like I wanted to be throwing the other. And I was like, you know what if I could combine them? And so I ended up doing that. I went into my tackle box, I found an old spinnerbait that had a rusted hook on it, and I ended up cutting the weight off. And I took one of the square bills I was using, and I connected the spinnerbait wire with the blades to the crankbait. And what you get is basically a spinnerbait with a crankbait on it, right? So with the spinnerbait, I ended up cutting it off right above the head, and then I just looped over the wire to make a loop, and then I took the split ring of the crankbait and ended up putting that right on the wire. So I've basically got a spinnerbait with a crankbait attached to it, and it's a really unique running bait. You know, you would think that it wouldn't quite run right. You could probably make the same thing too, you know, by buying like some of the beetle spin clips. You could do, you know, the same sort of thing where you just buy the spinner and put it on. I like using the spinnerbait blades because they're a little bit bigger and it's easier just to cut it off, and I can reuse old spinnerbaits for this, which is one thing that I really like about it. And especially for just playing around with it. If you've got old spinnerbaits that have rusted out hooks or hooks that are dull, give this a try. You can cut it off right above the head, and you can pretty much attach this to anything, but I really like it on shallow running crankbaits. You can do it on all crankbaits. I do feel like you get better activity from it if you have a bulkier spinnerbait. So you can do this again if you're gonna get a smaller beetle spin type clip that you want to put on. You can pretty much put that on any crankbait, but if you're going to use a spinnerbait arm with the spinnerbait blades, I would recommend using a little bit bulkier of a bait. And that's what I was doing that day I was out. I was throwing a bigger square bill. So in this case, you would say, well, is this going to run right? And really, it's surprisingly how good it runs. The crankbait will take the spinnerbait with it wherever it goes. And again, in this case, this is a Berkley square bull. It's a very wide running bait with a lot of side-to-side wobble action, and it really creates a lot of good flare out of the spinnerbait arm at the same time. And what I like about it is, depending on the crankbait, again, if you use a very buoyant crankbait, it will lift the arm with it. So if you're bringing this up over a log and you stop it, that bait backs up just like it normally would, and it'll bring the whole arm with it. Then when you start it up again, it'll just go right back into spinnerbait crankbait mode, and it's really cool. The biggest thing though to it, guys, and this is why that day I was out there, the thing that I discovered that really made me want to tinker with this more, and I've done this a lot now over the last couple of years, the sound that you get from the blade clanking off the bait that you're choosing is really, really enticing. And it's one of those things that in really dirty water, now you've got flash, wide wobble, and sound coming from the crankbait if you have one with rattles. But the rattles don't even compare to the clanking sound that you get from the spinnerbait blade clanking off the back of the crankbait. Really unique sound, or really a different motion that the fish haven't seen. But surprisingly, the crankbait still runs as it normally would. You know, occasionally you will get that to happen where like a hook will, you know, the hook will grab the wire and it ruins the cast, but for the most part, it runs really clean. So, you know, if you're looking for something to have flash and sound, or you're fishing dirty water, or you're fishing shallow water, or you're trying to catch a really big fish and you're trying to give them a big presentation, I would recommend giving this a try, guys. It's pretty cool. It's something the fish have not seen, and I've caught a lot of fish doing it. A lot of fish just playing around with it here on the river, kind of through trial and error. A lot of smallmouth. Yeah, I gotta say, give it a try. I've got some footage here. I'm just gonna show you a little bit. All right, guys, here it is. I really, really hope you guys can hear that clacking sound. But the nice thing is you still get a little backup motion. You can see when I stop it, the bait still wants to float up. Now, depending on what bait you use and how big the blades are, you may have to change that if you still want it to float to the surface. But you get a really erratic motion and a crazy, crazy clinking sound from that blade hitting off the bait. Really worth experimenting with, guys. I just want to emphasize that when you do this, the first crankbait you choose may not be the right crankbait. It took me a handful of different baits to choose. The first one I was throwing was a big square bill, like I said, that had a lot of buoyancy. It ran really well. I tried some smaller stuff, and if you have something that's too small for the spinnerbait arm, the spinnerbait overpowers the crankbait, and it kind of just, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. It may be what you're looking for, but it wasn't what I'm looking for. So you'll find that some baits work better than others. Again, you can do this on a deeper running bait. It will create some drag. You won't get the bait as deep as you wanted it to, but again, you get a whole different look, whole different profile. I really recommend just giving it a try. Like I said, guys, if you got some old spinner baits, you can quickly do this and see what I'm talking about. And it's not really going to cost you any money because you were going to throw those baits out anyways. But that's your tackle tinkering tip for the day. It's a fun one. It's cool to play with. I recommend giving it a try, guys. So thanks for watching. If you enjoy the channel, hit the subscribe button, share it on your social media pages, and hit that like button as well. It helps the channel out. And stay tuned. New tips and tricks come out every day.